Hey guys, how you doing today? This is David Lucas here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be discussing and I'll be giving my thoughts on It Chapter 2. It Chapter 2 star James McAvoy, Bill Hader, Jessica Chastain, and Bill Skarsgård, and is also directed by Andy Muschietti. Now, the basic plot of this movie is that Mike reaches out to the rest of the Losers Club, now 27 years later. They're all have separate lives now, all living in different places, have all really good careers. And he reaches out to them because he ends up finding out that Pennywise, in the very beginning of the movie, which this is the opening scene, he ends up killing a gay guy named Adrian, which is from the actual book. And he ends up getting brutally beat by some people, by some homophobic people. And then Pennywise ends up eating him. And I think Mike basically witnesses it or ends up seeing a crime scene of it, and he recognizes this kind of murder, and he knows that this is Pennywise back 27 years later. Once Mike gets them all together, they have to unlock old memories and do this ritual thing to basically defeat Pennywise for good. Now, my basic thoughts on the movie is that it is good. It is really good. I enjoyed it. But it isn't great, and I think that my expectations were a little too high for it, and that's probably why wasn't really that good to me. It was good, just not as good as I thought it should have been. I want to start off with some of the good things that I thought about this movie, because there are some good things to this movie. And right off the bat, I gotta say, all of the Losers Club, all the adult Losers Clubs that were perfectly cast. I think everyone nails their part of the role. James McAvoy, Bill Hader, Jessica Chastain, honestly all felt like older adult versions of these kids that we watched in the original, well, not the original, but in the first It Chapter 1. And they, literally, every single one of them just nailed their part. Some of the biggest standouts, in my opinion, is James Rancid and Bill Hader as Eddie and Richie. I thought they just both nailed every single scene they were in. And I really liked that storyline that they had between them of showing that Richie had probably feelings for Eddie, and maybe Eddie did or did not recycle feelings left for Richie at all. We don't know yet, but we do see that they are best buds. And that's something that I really liked from the first one, is that you notice that Richie and Eddie are best buds. Even if it's not romantic or anything, you can tell that they're really good buds, and they really care for each other a lot. And you feel every single line with them, and their chemistry was great in there. Their chemistry was really good, and I thought basically all the adult losers had perfect chemistry with each other. I just kind of wish that we'd seen a little bit more of them, because we didn't really see that much more. Every scene when the Losers Clubs are together basically are just great. I thought every single one when they're just all together talking, especially that scene in the restaurant, I thought was done really good. I thought that was one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, was the restaurant scene, because you really see this chemistry, and it feels like these people have been friends for like ever, since they were a child, and you really get that with them all, and I really like that. I actually thought the scares this time around were a lot better, I gotta say, because the scares in the first one, probably like one or two were really good for me, but this one, most of them were really good. Yeah, the CGI was a little too much, but I kind of look past that a little bit, because I kind of am just getting used to every horror movie nowadays having CGI, and I'm just starting to get used to it, I think. So that's why the CGI isn't bothering as much. But I thought all the scares were really good. A few of the standout scare scenes were the scenes when James McAvoy, Bill, was inside of the mirror maze, and he was trying to look for the kid, and Pennywise ends up eating the kid in front of Bill. I thought that was one of the most scariest scenes. I was claustrophobic. I felt like I was almost in a maze, like sitting in the theater watching it, like a mirror maze, like how he was. I really felt that scene. It felt like I was in the scene. That was a really good directing, I think, from Andy Muschietti to make me feel like I was inside of that scene. So good on the director for that scene. And good on for James McAvoy, because James McAvoy gives out an amazing performance too, like he always does in all of his movies. That old lady scare scene with Bev, when the old lady comes running after her when she's like all naked and everything, that freaked me out. It made me feel very unsettled. Like, I felt really just unsettled and like, ugh. It didn't make me feel too good at all. And that's a other really good job from the director. Bill Skarsgård in this one basically solidifies his role in the horror film genre. I think he is a fantastic Pennywise. And the thing is, I really like Tim Curry's Pennywise too. Tim Curry's an amazing Pennywise, and so is Bill Skarsgård, but they're so different from each other, so you can separate them. And I like that. I like how Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise is nothing like Tim Curry's Pennywise. So you can really just separate them. Almost like Jack Nicholson Joker and Heath Ledger Joker. They're so different. You can set them apart and like them both for their own ways. And Bill Skarsgård basically puts himself on that pedestal now with Tim Curry, I think. They're both amazing Pennywises. I enjoy watching both of them as Pennywise. And I think each have arguments to why they could be the best. I really like the ending to this. Not the ending climax, but the ending wrap-up, where everything's all wrapped up at the end and everyone gets that note from Stan. And that honestly was a really good choice, I thought. Really good directing choice, creative choice to do. I thought it kind of gave meaning to Stan's character more. It wasn't just that his whole character was just forgotten about and gone. He actually had a character arc, believe it or not, in this. They gave him a true character arc, and it felt really nice, and it felt really satisfying in the way they did that. And I really like how it ended on a good note, and I can really give the movie props for that. Let's end this with the bad things about this movie. Some of the stuff that I didn't really like about this movie at all. First seeing this, I thought that the problem was the time issue. I thought that it was way too long, and I heard some other people say that it was way too long. But after sleeping on it and sitting on it and seeing it another time, I'm really convinced that the time isn't the problem. It could be 3 hours long and you still can make a great movie out of it. The problem, what I think of it with it is that they don't use their time well. It's the execution that I think that it is. It's definitely the execution of how they use the time. They focus too much on flashbacks, I feel like, and show us a lot of flashbacks that I felt like should have been in the original in It Chapter 1. And some of those flashbacks just felt way too long drawn out and way too out of place with the story that we're supposed to be following now. And it just didn't, it kind of took me out of the movie a little bit. And then by the end of the movie, I was kind of looking at my time for the first time I watched it, and it was kind of like, wow, this movie's going on a little too long. And now I realize it's not that it went on too long, it's that they used the time not well. And they should have focused more on what I think they should have focused on was more of the Losers Club when they're older, more of their lives outside of the group. With Bill and his wife that he has, they showed a little bit of that in the beginning, but they did not give as much as time they should have to her. I would have liked to see more of their relationship and some of their story together, because in the book we do get that a lot, and in the miniseries, the original miniseries, we get a lot of her in there too, in their story, and I really like their story, and it kind of doesn't really make sense, because I feel like halfway through the movie, they kind of forget about her. Bill and Bev kiss each other, and it's a really random kiss and a really random scene that doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't do anything. All it does is just bring back another memory that we already seen before, and then they just don't ever talk about Bill's wife again. And it really doesn't make sense. They just kind of all forget about her. I don't understand why. They would have liked the more focus on her story rather than have flashbacks in what we already seen before. I also would have liked to see a lot more of Bev's life and how her relationship with her husband is. We do, again, get a little bit of it, but we only get like one little scene of it. We don't get a whole character arc about it. We don't see more with it. It's just there, and then they go away and don't talk about it ever again. And it kind of just doesn't make sense. It's kind of like they showed it and go away, and then they don't talk about it. And I don't get that. I would have liked them to focus more about that so we can see more of how these losers end up. I know I always keep on calling them losers, but they're the Losers Club. And see how they grow up and are and what their lives are like, because we see that in the miniseries and we see that in the book, and it fits the story. It's part of the story, a big part of it actually, a very important part in the story in the book, especially the book. So I kind of don't like how they didn't focus on that. Also, I gotta say, this movie didn't up the ante on everything. Yes, it did have better scares, but they weren't better to the point where I'm like, oh, those are the best scares I've ever seen. No, they're just a little better. And they didn't up anything. I mean, the actors did great in the roles. The story is all right. It's okay. It's just that it didn't up the scale on anything. It kind of reminds me of how I felt about Deadpool 2, where Deadpool 2 was good. It was really enjoyable. I'll watch it again, but it just didn't up the ante at all. It just kind of stayed where it was with the original. And maybe it's just because I had too much expectations for it, Chapter 2, because of how much I really, really liked it at Chapter 1. Because I loved it, Chapter 1. Maybe that's why. But this, it didn't feel like they upped anything. It felt like it just stayed where they were, and I didn't like that. So those are my basic thoughts of the movie of It Chapter 2. I thought it was good. I liked it. I'll probably see it for a third time. I've seen it twice. I'll probably see it for a third time again once it gets on DVD. I'll probably wait for DVD or Blu-ray once it gets on there. It didn't blow me away. It didn't succeed my expectations at all, really. It really didn't succeed my expectations, and that's a big downer. But it was still good enough for me to enjoy it. I'll give my final scoring of It Chapter 2 a 6.5 out of 10. It Chapter 1, I'll probably actually do a review of It Chapter 1 coming soon, give my thoughts on it. But 6.5 out of 10 is where I will say where it's at, and I actually like It Chapter 1 better, as you can tell. I like It Chapter 1. But let me know in the comment section what you guys thought about this movie. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you like Chapter 1 better? Did you like the miniseries better than this one? Let me know in the comment section below. I always love to hear what people think of movies and having discussions and conversations. Just let me know in the comment section. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe to see more videos. And I'll see you guys next time.